Hello, I am Anderson Hendricks, and I'm here to share with you some of my experiences with applying to the UK. I'm an incoming fresher at the University of Cambridge for Engineering. So the things that I'll be sharing about today would be firstly about choosing the right university. Next, I'll talk about how is the application process like. And finally, I'll talk about what do I do to prepare myself for studying abroad. So let's start off with choosing the right university. Of course, there's many of factors that go into play here. The first important thing that I feel that we should consider is the course content. For example, if you want to study a degree like law, some universities tend to teach it in the more traditional way, and some have a more applied way in a certain sense where they go through different things. And for example, if you study engineering, is it more theoretical or is it more applied? It's very important to go through the modules in the university that you're going for, and seeing whether or not it's appropriate to what you want to study. So that's the first thing. Next thing, you need to consider that studying in the UK is a very, very expensive thing to do. And even though it's generally an expensive thing, but studying at different universities can change the costs very drastically. So you should actually check out websites to actually do the fee calculations for the living fees, and also check your university websites to check out the tuition fees for certain degrees and courses within the university. So after checking the costs, do check with your sponsors, be it your own parents or your financial sponsors elsewhere, to ensure that they will be able to financially support you throughout this educational journey. The next thing you should consider is accreditation. So you intend to take a degree to finally get a job and use it, right? But some degrees aren't recognized by certain countries in certain fields. For example, in my country, Malaysia, all bachelors of engineering that last 3 years aren't recognized by the Board of Engineers in Malaysia. So we have to do masters in engineering. So it's important to go through your government websites in the fields that you're planning to pursue and check whether or not your accreditations match the ones that are being given by your university. And after that, then choose your university, because you wouldn't want spending 3 years and figuring out that, hey, this is not worth my time. The next thing you would also want to think about is the location. I know some people really, really like the hustle and bustle of the city. So maybe a London university is for them. Some people like me like countryside. So taking that into consideration might really affect your university choices. It's also important to think about modes of assessment. Some universities place a very heavy emphasis on exam-based tests. So their weightages on exams might be very, very high. But some, depending on the course, also focus on coursework. So you might be able to consistently put out good coursework. And even though if you flunk the final exam, you would still be able to get your degree, or even a first-class honors or something like that. So it's very important to examine your own style of study before thinking about this, then choosing one that's that plays to your advantages. So some people who study in the UK are very keen to go for internships. And it's a very important thing to think about job opportunities provided by the universities. You can do this by sending an email over to the career help unit of each university and each course or department, seeing what opportunities they provide for certain universities so that you can get a job internship easily. And it's very different for a city university and a countryside university, because for example, some companies would send out outreach programs for universities that are not in the city, but those opportunities might be slightly less than those that are in the cities. So that's something to consider. And finally, the last thing I feel that's very important to consider is societies and extracurriculars. Some of you that are applying might have a certain skill that you want to polish even when you go to university. Some people are good debaters, and some people are very, very good in a certain sport. So it's important to check whether or not those societies are made available in said university so that you are able to participate and enjoy your time there. So that's what I have to say about choosing the right university. Let's move on to how the application process was like for me. So to apply to the UK, you will need to go through this system called UCAS. So it's basically a system where you will be given your registration details by your school that you're currently studying in, and you will have to fill in your job experience or your educational qualifications you've had in the past and your personal details. But one particular thing that's very, very important in this process is your personal statement. So what is the personal statement? The personal statement is essentially a document where you would want to pursue your admissions tutor to admit you into the university. So it will detail your skills that enable you to succeed as a student in that university, why you are so passionate about the course you are planning to pursue, and many more information pertaining to the admission of you into the university. It's essentially 4,000 characters long or 47 lines long, and it depends on the width of the system in UCAS, so you should check out how long your personal statement is when you actually craft it. But it's something actually people do tend to do last minute, and that actually costs them. I feel that the personal statement is something you should do very, very much in advance. So if you're planning to apply next year, you should start thinking about why I plan to pursue this course and what skills or what things can show my abilities as a student to excel in this course when I arrive there. And start writing out some sentences, and when the time comes, you will be able to like make it up into a nice document that will be able to impress your admissions tutor. And obviously it's not something where you just state all of your achievements in one document. It's more of what you've done and what you've learned from it, or what you feel you can do with it. But obviously I'm not the best person in the world to give the advice for like personal statements. There are many, many programs and talks organized by the admissions tutors of your respective universities that you're applying to, and do watch out for those and join those to hear what they think about what they're looking for in candidates. Also, it's sometimes universities have extra steps in the application process, like interviews and admissions tests. So for example, interviews in this case are less of the, or what do you feel that you'll be doing in 5 years time kind of interviews. It's more of like academic interviews, whereby they give you some warm-up questions, then they start you off with like academic questions like sketch this graph, or given this case, what would you do, or what do you feel like morality is in this certain field, like for law perhaps. So it's very important to have mock interviews with either your seniors or your teachers in advance so that you get aptly prepared for them. There are also admission tests, like for maths applicants to certain universities, you have to do either STEP or maybe the MAT, the mathematics admissions test. Or if you're planning to go for Oxford, that's like the PAT, the physics admission test for engineers and physics students. And if you're going for Cambridge, then there's most likely an admission test for whatever course you're applying to, like there's the ECAA, which is the economics admissions test, and etc. So do be very prepared for those. You can find materials and past years online. And also do take note of the additional forms that you might be asked to fill in during your application process that's outside of UCAS. So for example, Imperial has their Imperial Gateway, and UCL has their own portal, and Cambridge has their SEQ application form. So these will usually come through your email. So do be very wary of what emails you get. So finally, we'll talk about like how did I prepare myself for studying abroad, and I'm going to fly in a few weeks. So that's something. The first most important thing that I feel many people make a mistake in is to prepare your documents early. Like for example, if you're applying from Malaysia, you need to do a tuberculosis test because that's required for like Malaysian citizens and certain countries where like TB risk is higher. So you should do that like way early, and like you should apply for your visa appointment early. You should get your documents in order, like what documents you want to bring to the UK, your IC, your passports, and etc. And get all of that ready, because it's going to be very important for you whenever you're asked to like disclose certain information and provide proof. So that's something. Also, you should do your research about the logistics of the place. Like where should you open your bank account? What kind of bank accounts should you open? What kind of like mobile providers would you have? And what kind of COVID SOPs that's important in this time, because you need to like do certain tests before you fly, or book certain tests that will be delivered to you after you fly. And these things will be very important, because if you don't do them correctly, you might not be able to like get to your destination when you're studying abroad. Also, it's very good to get in touch with people who are already there. So for example, you can get in contact with your seniors who might have already been studying in the UK, or you can search up on LinkedIn to see any mutual contacts. I've had like some people contact me on LinkedIn, and I've been giving my advice as much as I can. So that's another way you can go about it. And lastly, the most important thing is to keep checking your emails, because your universities will provide like tons of information and procedures for you to do, like different forms for you to sign up in before you arrive. So you should constantly have a habit of checking your emails and archiving users' emails, so that you can always be ahead of whatever information is coming in and be prepared to give whatever information is necessary for you to fly over. In conclusion, I really hope that my sharing has helped you in any way, and that your application to the UK might be successful, and I might see you there. Thank you.